Welcome to another episode of Questions Are Answers. Today, this video is dedicated to all of the overachievers who constantly burn out while doing what they love. This one's a very interesting one, and it's a different video than my other one, which I made for why you may feel stressed, overwhelmed, and anxious while pursuing your goals, or why you suffer while pursuing your goals. This video, on the other hand, is for the overachievers who find that they actually love what they do so much that they can't almost stop themselves from doing it so much to the point of constantly burning out over and over and over again. Essentially just working their body until past the point of exhaustion and then just passing out for maybe 2 or 3 days on end. This one, I run into this problem quite a bit with a lot of people who are in the business industry or run a business or have one or are in a very, very high stress, high performance environment. Now, what I want to preface this video with is that if you haven't watched my other ones on non-thinking, I highly recommend that one and then coming to this one, because this one's going to need that context to really help you overcome that constant burnout when you're pursuing really what you love every single day. Fundamentally, the reason why we tend to burn out so much while we do what we love and why we can't seem to get ourselves away from doing that is because we put fulfillment and the love of the craft over everything else. Our goals supersede everything else in life. And when we do that, we sacrifice our physical bodies. We almost see our physical bodies as an impediment or something in the way of us being able to achieve our highest potential. That's not entirely bad. Again, there's nothing good or bad in this world. The only problem with that is that we tend to sacrifice our entire physical bodies and almost neglect it to the point of exhaustion, burning out, passing out, whatever it is. And while we may feel very fulfilled while doing that work and working past that point of exhaustion, we sacrifice our lives instead, our personal lives. We sacrifice our health. We sacrifice everything when we do that. And so we essentially what happens is that you overcompensated for your own joy and fulfillment and just left everything else just there and kind of didn't nurture it in the way that it needs to be. Again, we're not entirely spiritual beings. We're both physical and spiritual beings, and we need to nurture both in order to have a harmonious life. Otherwise, you kind of go into that flux of feeling really amazing, fulfilled, joyful while doing the work, and then going point the path of which you should probably go, and then just burning out. And then that cycle continues over and over again. The way to kind of break out of that is to understand and to really bring together those two worlds and not see them as separate and not see the body as in the way of you achieving your highest potential or your ultimate fulfillment in life, but seeing your body as a vehicle to help you reach that. Without your body, you can't do that. And so what you can also do is to realize that your body is constantly sending you signals on how you can grow, not just physically, but spiritually. And the way that you can also continue to grow spiritually is by nurturing your physical body. And it's funny because most people grow up leaning towards one side versus the other. Most people, it depends on which one you are, or which category. So some people will grow up constantly nurturing their physical body and going towards pleasure and doing that really well to the point of almost getting addicted to physical things in life, and sacrificing the spiritual side, which is why they feel so unfulfilled in their lives. And in the other side of the spectrum are people that constantly pursue fulfillment and joy in their lives and doing what they love, but sacrifice the physical side. And as a byproduct, burn out, have a lot of anxiety, and then aren't able to kind of keep up and just basically work themselves to death. The answer or solution is always in the middle. It's the gray area. There's no right or wrong in either way, but if you want to live that harmonious, peaceful, joyful life where it is sustainable long term, it's somewhere in the middle. It's finding that balance between nurturing your physical self and your spiritual side simultaneously. And what's interesting is that as you go to the other side, you'll realize that it's almost cyclical. It's an ecosystem where one side affects the other and actually can enhance the other. So the more that you nurture your physical side, the more that you actually nurture your spiritual side as well. And you'll start to feel even more fulfillment. You'll have more energy, and you can also go down that path even more. And you'll find out that you're expanding and growing in different ways than you would have thought possible. So right now, if you're kind of in that arena of leaning towards the spiritual side and doing really well there, but then neglecting the physical side, try to use your intuition on your body. Ask yourself, instead of, what do I need to do to achieve my highest potential today? And it only being geared towards that fulfillment spiritual side, ask it in the physical sense. And it's not like you're going to dedicate your whole day to that. Most times we kind of think in black and white or absolutes, where if I nurture my body, I only nurture my body that whole day. It could be, but it's not forever. And it's not going to be, oh, I'm going to nurture my body for the next 3 months and that's it. It's a balance of everything. So figure out how long you want to nurture your body for. Maybe it's only 10 minutes a day. Maybe it's an hour a day. Maybe it's taking a break during those times that you are working on what you want to work on. Figure it out and ask yourself, and use your intuition on your body. Most of the time we're using and following our intuition for our spiritual side, but we neglect the physical side. So ask yourself, what does your body need now? And then kind of follow it and nurture that side. And just test it, right? Again, you don't have to believe anything I say. Test it for yourself and see what the effects are and what you experience, and use that as your own basis for what you want to believe in and what you want to pursue, just based on those energetics of what you're actually experiencing in your life. So that's really how simple it can be, is just shifting that perspective. Like, what is your actual thinking that's causing you to burn out? And figuring out what it is that you believe, what it is that you're telling yourself that you have to work yourself past the point of exhaustion. What is that actual thinking? What are you actually saying to yourself? And then once you become aware of that, realize that you can nurture the other side, and that it can actually be just as fulfilling. Maybe not in the same spiritual sense, but physically you can start to feel a different type of fulfillment or type of joy than you have before. And it's not meant to compare for one another. And that's what another problem that I kind of ran into as well, which was I was thinking and feeling, oh, like, why doesn't nurturing my physical self feel the same as the spiritual self? It's not meant to feel the same. And that's the point. It's different, but one's not better than the other. And we need both in order to grow harmoniously and to really embody everything that we are in this life, which is neither just spiritual or just physical, but a combination of both. The other kind of mindset that I have let go of, or kind of come to realize that's been holding me back, or anybody back when they're in this kind of predicament, is that they put so much pressure on themselves to grow. Just constant, never-ending pressure to become better, to grow, to improve themselves. And the issue with that is that it causes that stress, that burnout, and feels like we're never ever doing enough, or that we aren't enough. And there's never enough time in the day to get everything we want done. And so at the end of the day, although we might have not have done that, we kind of go to bed, and the sense is, if I'm not working myself to death and if I don't pass out, I'm not doing enough. But that type of mentality is exactly what drives us to burnout. And the truth is, if you're not constantly getting everything that you want done, when is a time when you're ever going to get everything done? And with that realization, do you want to keep feeling like you're not enough and basing your worth on what you do? And so when you come to realize this, and how that thinking is causing all of the suffering and burning out, you can start to see that, do you actually need to work yourself to death in order to feel fulfillment? When have you experienced this in other times when you haven't done that, when you didn't work until burnout? And you start to realize, when you're doing your best work, what are you feeling? What are you experiencing? Does it feel strenuous? Does it feel like you're in a constant state of pressure and overwhelm and working yourself to death? And you start to realize that it's in a state of flow is when you feel your best. And how does flow feel? It feels effortless, expansive, joyful even. It feels really fulfilling. And that's the state that you want to continually be in. And it's not about how much time you spend working, or it's not about that, or it's not about the effort that you put into your work, but it's really how you feel about your work at the end of the day. And that's what matters most. It's not what you get done, which is just external. It's how you feel internally. And that's the basis of what you want to base your success on. Otherwise, the external world is never going to be enough. There's always more to accomplish, always more to do. But if you base it on how you feel, which is being in that state of peace, love, and joy, and coming from that state of abundance, and that anything that you do is really a byproduct of this state, of this feeling, that's when you can prevent burnout. That's when you can come from this place of just pure love, pure energy, pure creativity. And that's when we do our best work anyway. It's all a byproduct of the feeling, of this energy, of who you're being in the moment. So start to realize that we are always growing. It's inevitable. Everything in nature is constantly growing, and you don't really see a tree constantly stressed out about if it's growing tall enough or if it's as big as other trees or anything like that. It just grows, and that's its only purpose. That's what it's here for. And it doesn't have to try to do that. It is already doing that. Every single day, you're constantly growing, you're constantly expanding. You don't have to put so much pressure on yourself to do that. It is an inevitable byproduct of existing in this world. And so you can bring your focus back on yourself instead of the external world of, am I doing enough? Am I better than everyone else? Or am I enough compared to anyone else? Or competing enough? Whatever all of that external stuff is, you can start to let that go and come back within yourself. And that's where you find your own divinity, your own power, your own essence, your own being. And from that place, you can come into the world and create something amazing. And it's in a sustainable way where you're not going to constantly burn out anymore. And you're not trying to create from a place of lack any longer. And that's how you can find peace in the present while pursuing your goals, while creating something amazing, while still performing at your peak without all of the unnecessary stress, overwhelm, and burnout. I love you all very much, and I'll see you guys soon.